The NFL Combine is going on this weekend, and before you know it, the NFL Draft will be here. And with the NFL Draft comes thousands of mock drafts, speculations, and hypotheticals of what team will do what. And in today's video, we will be discussing the most active teams in the upcoming draft for one reason or another. Some may be surprising, but at the end, let me know what you think and whether you agree or disagree with the teams chosen for today's video. Also, please know the teams chosen are not the only teams that will be active, and is not limited to just these couple of NFL franchises, so without further ado, let's begin. And we are going to start today's video with the Carolina Panthers, who currently have the 6th overall pick. However, they do not select again until day 3, until the 106th overall pick in the 4th round, and in addition to this, they have 2 5ths, a 6th and a 7th, which may seem surprising that they are in this video and that this team would be active. And by the way, to address the gap in the picks, the 2nd round is due to the Sam Darnold trade, and the 3rd round pick is due to acquiring former Jags corner CJ Henderson, which also involved them trading tight end Dan Arnold. The Sam Darnold trade was a coin flip of a trade, and unfortunately for Carolina, the coin, well, it did not land in their favor. Head coach Matt Rule is entering the 3rd year of his NFL career, and in each year has started 3-2 through 5 games in both 2020 and 2021, and this past year the Panthers did not just start 3-2. They started 3-0. It has been a terrific month of September and first couple of weeks of October, then absolute disaster for the rest of their season. And general manager Scott Fitterer was named the Panthers GM in January of 2021, so that means he is entering his 2nd draft as the Panthers GM. Unfortunately for Scott, a lot of his picks have already been allocated for via trade, and unfortunately for the Panthers, the trades involving these picks have not worked out like the big trades for other franchises have, most notably the Rams. And of course we hear about the Rams trades, and they are a more noteworthy trade than the Panthers have been making, to be fair, but they haven't been successful. And what is genuinely unfortunate for not only Scott as the GM, but of course Matt Rule as well, and of course this player personally, they drafted one of the best corners in 2021 in J.C. Horn, only for him to get hurt in his rookie year, which is a part of football. I obviously don't hold JC accountable to this or anything, let's get that clear, like it's his fault, because it's not. But the Chargers drafted a Pro Bowl tackle 5 selections later that the Panthers were very much considering in Rashawn Slater, only to choose JC over him. And again, he could prove to be one of the best corners in the league over time, but entering the 2022 draft with a head coach definitely on the hot seat, combined with a GM who has had only one first-round pick play minimally, followed by a botched trade in Sam Darnold, the Panthers will be very, very active in the 2022 NFL Draft. They could draft a Malik Willis in a last-minute desperation to try and save Matt Rule's job, or even trade up to get Malik, depending on how much his draft stock rises over the next month and a half. And I'll pause for a second and say, look, I understand the comments that could ensue and say, well, this draft class is not it for quarterbacks, but I promise there will be at least one, if not multiple, selected in the top 10. I promise. And the Panthers could very well be one of them, trying to save their jobs, similar to what we saw with Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy last year in Chicago with Justin Fields, trading future picks. Now, next is the Philadelphia Eagles, and this one is pretty obvious as to why they would be one of the most active teams in the upcoming draft. With 3 first-round picks in the top 20, those being at 15, 16, and 19 overall. However, they are not included just for having these selections. They are included for the possibility of trading up or even out of these selections, more so than just simply staying put. And Eagles fans have been vocal that they would prefer to trade at least one of these selections, if not 2 of the 3, for multiple already proven NFL talent, because they want the picks out of GM Howie Roseman's hands, and most notably at the receiver position. We know how the results for Howie, for the most part, has gone at that position. And whether or not Jalen Hurts is the long-term answer or not will be determined this year, but what the Eagles can do to help him out and for a potential quarterback in what could be the post-Jalen Hurts era will be determined by these 3 picks. The Eagles have been linked to having interest in Calvin Ridley, who has also expressed his displeasure in Atlanta, but there are plenty of other receivers they could trade for as well, and one that would make sense is current Seahawks receiver DK Metcalf. DK has not expressed displeasure of being in Seattle, but there have been rumors of the Seahawks trading quarterback Russell Wilson, and I do believe Russ will be moved this offseason. To where at this point, we don't know. But Seattle has the oldest head coach in the league in Pete Carroll, and the Seahawks will more than likely get worse before they get better from a long-term success standpoint, meaning they could do better this year than what they did in 2021, which was have the 10th worst record in the league. Like, they may go 8-9 or even 9-8, but I do think it is safe to say at this point in time, Pete Carroll will not hoist another Lombardi trophy. And it makes a ton of sense for them to try and get picks while they can, and while DK has a year left on his deal. And the Eagles trading any of these picks for a 24-year-old receiver for what would also help Jalen Hurts' progression, given how good of a player DK is, would help a lot more now than any first-round receiver could. And also, it would get Seattle a first-round pick because they currently do not have one because of the Jamal Adams trade. Also, DK is only 24 years old, so it's not like he's 29, entering his prime, and they may only have a year or two of him. He's not slowing down anytime soon. And by the way, the Eagles being active in the NFL draft does not apply to them just being buyers either. If a player starts to slip that other teams love that may not necessarily apply to Philly, they could very well try and snag future picks just like they did last year, and although the circumstances were a lot different with trading back from pick 6 originally, than the Carson Wentz trade and everything that happened pre-draft, they very easily could try and snag a future first again and be loaded for next year's draft. That scenario is definitely not as likely as them being buyers, but it is worth noting because this is known to be a less talented draft class than what is to be expected for 2023. The Pittsburgh Steelers are the next team to be very, very active during the NFL draft, and this one makes a lot of sense. GM Kevin Colbert is entering his last draft, and what better way to go out with than a bang? We saw former Ravens GM do this when Ozzie Newsome selected quarterback Lamar Jackson, and the rest you could say is history. He won an MVP in his second year, and hopefully for Baltimore's sake soon, a Super Bowl to go along with that. And there is one quarterback in particular the Steelers have been routinely linked to early in this draft process, and even as early as the Senior Bowl week, and it is Malik Willis from Liberty. Pittsburgh is in an interesting situation as a franchise because they have a numerous amount of talented players on their roster, and they very much believe they are a quarterback away from competing and beating the elites of the AFC. Not just competing, but beating. Which also brings us to a very possible play of trading the 20th overall pick, and then some, for a player we mentioned earlier in the video and someone like a Russell Wilson or even an Aaron Rodgers. The cap would be figured out later, and that would not be an issue if there are concerns of that. It's not every day you have Najee Harris, Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, and Pat Freiermuth all on the same offense, and it's not every day a four-time league MVP in Aaron Rodgers, who desperately wants another ring for his career, is potentially available. Green Bay is not in a good cap situation by any means, and it would be extremely shocking if they can retain Davante Adams, let alone both him and Aaron. In one way or another with Kevin Colbert, I do expect him to go out with a bang, whether that is spend that final first round pick on a quarterback or use it in a trade to acquire one. And if there is a team currently I could bet on that does not have their 2023 first round pick, that is aside from the Rams of course because they do not, but aside from them, it would be the Steelers. And there is a big difference between the Steelers being aggressive and the Panthers, for what it's worth. The Steelers would be to compete now because they are miles closer to a Super Bowl title than the Panthers. For Carolina, it would be in job salvation mode, or sink or swim, or survive and advance to the next season, or whatever you'd like to call it, where with Kevin Colbert, it would be discussing with everyone and all of his staff and essentially say, look, I don't want to screw you guys out of a future, but I do think my final move as the general manager of this football team's best interest would be to make a big trade for a quarterback to give our guys like the TJs, the Deontays, and the Minkas the best shot they possibly have at winning a ring. And I do think that will happen one way or another this offseason. Under zero circumstance do I see the Pittsburgh Steelers moving forward with a bridge quarterback like a Mariota, Trubisky, or Teddy Bridgewater, or even either of the guys they currently have on the roster in Mason Rudolph or Dwayne Haskins. For the stereotypes of the Steelers, the team that does not make big moves or generally doesn't, they will this year, and I really can't wait to see who it's for. And with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, now is the time I ask you to please leave a like and subscribe to the channel, as it would truly mean the world. We are closing in on 35,000 subscribers, and I cannot thank you guys enough for the support, and until next time, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.